If you're running ads, you've probably noticed something. Your numbers don't add up. Maybe you made 100 sales, but Google only shows 60. You've probably also noticed that your campaigns used to work and now they don't. And so you're spending the same money but seeing worse results. But what if the issue is not with your ads? What if a huge chunk of your data is getting blocked before it's ever able to reach Google or Facebook? That's exactly what we've seen happen multiple times in the last few years working with hundreds of businesses. And in this video, I'll show you exactly how to fix it in a non-technical way. By the end, you could be seeing 20 to 30% more conversions in your dashboard from the same traffic you already have. So let's get into it. Right now, when someone visits your website, tracking works like this. Their browser sends the data directly to Google or Facebook or whatever platform you're using. Your visitor's browser does all the work. That's called client-side tracking. Client means the browser. The issue with this is that browsers are getting stricter. For example, Safari limits how long cookies can last. Ad blockers stop requests to Google Analytics entirely. Some people have extensions that block all tracking scripts. So your visitor clicks on your ad, buys your product, but Google never finds out. As far as Google knows, that ad didn't work. Your data is incomplete and your campaigns can't optimize properly. Server-side tagging changed this. Instead of the browser sending data directly to Google, it sends data to your own server first. Then your server sends it to Google. You might be wondering, why does that help? Because ad blockers block requests to googleanalytics.com. but they don't block requests to your own website. To them, it just looks like your site talking to itself. And the result is that you recover data that you would have otherwise been lost. You get the same traffic with the exact same ads, but you're actually able to see what's happening now. Okay, before we go any further, I need to be straight with you. Server-side tagging might not be for everyone, but here's how to know if it is for you. You probably need server-side tagging if you're spending money on ads and you need accurate conversion data to optimize. A big chunk of your traffic comes from Safari or iOS users and they have strict tracking restrictions. You've noticed your reported conversions don't match your actual sales, like you made 100 sales but Google only shows 60. Or you're in an industry where accurate attribution actually matters for your decisions. But you probably don't need it if you're just starting out and barely spending any money on ads, or you don't make decisions based on conversion data. Server-side tagging requires a server, and that means there's always some ongoing cost involved. So if you're running everything yourself, like for example with Google Cloud, you're responsible for the infrastructure, the scaling, the monitoring, the maintenance. Those costs, they can grow as traffic increases, and it also takes time and technical expertise to manage. With a managed server-side tagging solution, the server infrastructure is actually handled for you. That means fewer setup steps, less technical overhead, and more predictable operational effort over time. With Server Google Tag Manager, the server infrastructure and consent integration are managed together, which helps reduce operational complexity while keeping privacy requirements in focus. And the nice thing is that you can get started for free. Usercentrics actually offers a free plan that lets you run server-side tagging and test your setup without any upfront cost. As your traffic grows, you can move to a paid plan that scales with your usage, but even then, the pricing stays very accessible compared to running and maintaining everything yourself. All right, so how do you actually set up server-side tagging? First thing, go to the link in the description of this video and click on the button Start Free. You can log in with your Google account. You will then get to the admin interface. To get started, we will simply create a new container here. I will give a dedicated name, for example, demo SST container. And the tool will ask me for my container configuration ID. So we need to create a server container on Google Tag Manager. Let's go. You open Google Tag Manager. You should land at the home page, which is the account view. You click on this engine icon. You should see this admin interface here. Now, just in case you weren't on the home page, you might also be on the workspace view here. Then all you have to do is click on the admin tab to land on the same place. You will select manually provision tagging server and copy the configuration code below. So once the configuration ID is copied, just enter it in the input field and create a container. You can actually see it's already been created. It'll take some minutes until it's active. Cool, now we see that the container is active. Now the server-side tagging container is up and running, and you can see this via this little green icon here that shows your dedicated domain. So if you want to change this domain here, which by the way is a good idea, you can do it directly here under the domain settings. Just enter the name of your domain or subdomain you want to add, click Add Domain button, and it'll give you a DNS record that you need to add. So now how you will add it will depend on the DNS system that you're using. It can be something like Namecheap, GoDaddy, Cloudslayer, among others. So if you're in Cloudflare, for example, it's pretty intuitive. Under records, you just click Add Records, select the type CNAME here, and then under, I'll add a sst.demo, and under value, I'll copy and paste the value I have there. Now, you should have your server tag manager up and running. So we're heading to Google Tag Manager interface, and we'll start off with a client. Clients are used to control how data is ingested by the server tag manager. Think of it as a public endpoints that are used to collect data from your visitor's device or services. To start with a basic setup, I recommend two different clients, one for Google Analytics 4 and one for default standard tag manager. The GA4 is configured by default, so there's nothing you need to do here. But to add the Web Tag Manager client, click on New, select Google Tag Manager Web Container, give it an appropriate name like GTM Web Container, and add your Google Tag Manager container IDs. I'll do that with the ID that I already copied, and to keep it simple, I will disable region-specific settings. This basic client setup should be enough for most of the server setups out there. So this was the setup of the client. If you want to enrich or deduct your data, you can do that with the transformation features, but I'm not gonna do that now. Now, before I actually create tags and triggers, I need to set my web container to send data to server. If I don't do this, then nothing will ever reach the server container. So I head back to my web container. I will select my Google tag. I will go to my configuration settings and add a configuration parameter, which is server_container_URL. Here in value, I will add my SST domain and save. It might also be that depending on the UI of your GTM, you have something like a server container URL field or transport URL. Okay, good. Now publish, and the web container will send data to my server endpoint instead of directly to Google. Don't forget to publish. Okay, so up until now, we've only built the infrastructure. The server can receive the data, but it's not sending anything out yet. This is where server-side tagging actually becomes useful. Now we'll be telling the server, when you receive an event, forward it to Google Analytics or Google Ads. Without this step, the data would just hit the server and stop there. So let's go. Now it's time to share the data with a third party. So we'll create tags for Google Analytics and Google Ads conversion. Let's start with Google Analytics 4. Add new tags, call it Google Analytics. Select here GA4. If you're sending data already from a web tag manager, you don't need to add in here your measurement ID as well as an event name. You can leave all of these blanks. The server tag manager will automatically pull that information from the request. But we do have to create a trigger that activates the Google Analytics tag for all incoming Google Analytics events. So to do that, hit trigger. You can name it all GA4 events. Set this to custom event and do the regex matching like this. What happens is all incoming events will be sent to GA4 as this is our main tool. I could also add exception like do not send a specific event or something like that. In my case here, I have a previous transformation that I did and it shows here automatically, but you don't have to. Now we will add the Google Ads conversion tag. Assuming we receive a lot of different events from our website like page views, scrolls, purchase, etc. So we'll select tag, Google Ads conversion tracking, add our conversion ID, which you can pull from your Google Ads account. I'll just put a placeholder here on the conversion label. So this Google Ads conversion tag should not trigger on every conversion event, but just purchases. So I create a new trigger. I call it purchase events, for example. I select custom event as well, and I'll add an event name that reflect these events. I hit save. Now, watch out. You are not to invent or guess the event's name here. It needs to match the actual event. So if you're not sure what the event name you want to track for the Google tag is, just use your GTM preview to see what event is triggered by the action you want to track. Again, once you've created your tags and your triggers, make sure you publish the server container. Otherwise, the tags won't actually fire. Next up, consent mode. Now, this part is important. Server-side tagging helps you recover data, but consent mode makes sure you're actually doing this the right way. This is what tells Google how to behave depending on what the user actually clicks on your banner. If they accept, tracking runs normally. If they reject, Google only gets limited privacy-safe signals. And without this, you're either not compliant or you're blocking more data than you actually need to. So yeah, this step matters. If you're using Usercentrics CMP like we are, the setup is honestly pretty straightforward. You just open the Usercentrics admin portal, go to configuration for the website or app that you're working on. You will navigate to CMP settings and turn on consent mode checkbox. Now go to service settings and make sure that every Google service that needs consent mode is actually set up there. And in this example here, it's Google Analytics and Google Ads conversion tracking. That's it from the Usercentric side. Once consent mode is enabled and those Google services are configured, Usercentrics can pass the right consent signals. So Google tags can behave correctly depending on whether the user accepts, rejects, or customizes consent. If you don't have a consent banner yet, or you've got one but it's not talking to your server properly, we have a free tool called cookiebot. It scans your site, shows you what's tracking your visitors, and handles the consent signals automatically. It takes about 10 minutes to set up, and the link is in the description. All right, now let's make sure that everything is actually working, because this is where most people get stuck. And I will tell you right away what can mislead your testing. Did you double check if you publish both containers? Don't skip this step. Before you can test the setup, you first need to configure preview mode in the server-side tagging manager container. So go to the admin interface, open container settings, add a new preview URL, and enter the server endpoint URL you've configured. Then save it. This is important. If the preview URL is wrong, the preview will open, but you won't see any requests coming in. Next, go back to Workspace and refresh the page. You should now see the preview button in the top right corner. When you click it, the preview window opens and shows all incoming requests from other tags in your browser. Now, if I open my website in a second tab, every tracking hit that I send from that page will automatically appear here in the server-side tagging manager preview. If nothing shows up at this point, it usually means that the data is still being sent directly from the browser to Google instead of to your server endpoint. I'll go back to my test website, refresh the page once, and click accept on the cookie banner. And here we can already see the page view event coming in. We can also see that Google Analytics tag fired successfully. If you see the event but no tags firing, that's usually a trigger or event name mismatch in the server container. To understand what's going on in more detail, you can use these tabs here to inspect the request, the client, and exactly which tags fired or didn't fire for that event. To test whether a Google Ads conversion is firing, you can go to your website and trigger a test purchase. The purchase event should then appear in the server-side tagging manager preview. If it doesn't, double check that the purchase event is actually being sent to the server container. Just keep it in mind. This will only work if a Google Ads tag is configured in the server container, the purchase event is mapped correctly, and the conversion ID and label are set. If those are missing, you will still see the event, but the Google Ads conversion won't fire. And even if everything looks good here, it can still take some time before the conversion shows up in Google Ads interface. That's server-side tagging set up properly, but the server is just the foundation. Now you need to send the right data through it, like conversions, purchases, form submissions, etc. I mean, the stuff that actually tells Google which ads are working and which aren't. That's exactly why we've created this video right here, where we cover how to set up Google Ads conversion tracking the right way. I'll see you there.